into the show
that informs, improves, and inspires racers everywhere.
The Northwest Race Report. The Northwest Race Report is brought to you by O'Hagan's Kart Supply, Lebanon, Oregon. You want to win? O'Hagan's wants to help. And by True Tech Automotive, Hazeldale, Washington. Get your car, truck, or tow rig repaired the right way, the True Tech way. And by Scott Seal Coat and Striping, Federal Way. For over 25 years, whether you're sealing or striping, you can count on Scott. And by Southern Oregon's karting headquarters, Speed City LLC, keeping racers on track with quality support and friendship. You're tuned in to the Northwest Race Report exclusively at terrybridges.com. And now back to your horsepower and performance hosts, Terry Bridges and Glenn Lippy Tower. Oh, what is going on, racers? We are live here from NWRR Studio in beautiful Olympia, Washington. I'm your horsepower and performance host, Terry Bridges, and in the house with me are two of the finest co-hosts in the business, Mr. Glenn Lippy Tower. What's up, Lip?
Evening, gents and ladies.
And Mr. Migraine. He's loaded too many gravel trucks. The loader. What's up, buddy? How you feeling?
Oh, a little better. It's been a tough week.
Yeah, he parked too close to me last week, caught my cold.
Well, that ain't the part of it. It's just I got a migraine.
A migraine. Is it still going on?
Yes, it is.
Oh, and you're here. So that tells me a great deal. Well, we got a good show for you tonight. We got some results from Salem, which I actually went down on Saturday. It was kind of cool. But first, let's check in. Lip, who was P1?
Rusty King comes in at P1, and Daniel Watkins at P2, and it looks like Scott Keeney coming in the third position.
Well, mine says Kravitz is in there.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Is that right?
Yes, I confused him with Dan. You're right.
So the Kravitron makes the podium.
He does.
Renee Angel in the house. Cool. Hey, by the way, we got a good show for you tonight. We're going to talk, well, I know I'm going to give you a couple of 2 cents. Mine's just more of a thought than anything on my 2 cents, but it's just about just all the planning and stuff some racers do. I read it all the time, and I just read something today on Kart Pulse, and it was kind of like, it just hit me. It's like, anyway, I'll get to that. That's coming. Loader, what do you got tonight?
We're going to do a little bit called The Hidden Dangers of Concussions.
Yes.
Nice.
That's going to be
Got
good.
about a 3-part series in this. It was quite an article, and I got a lot out of it. So
Good deal. That's going to be very, very interesting.
Wow.
Lip, and you got...
I'm supposed to be doing clutches tonight, so we'll see how I do because I didn't do all my homework.
Well, it doesn't. We'll get you going anyway.
Yes.
But so everybody's having, it sounds like a tough week.
Yes.
Lippy had some weird stuff going on at his house.
Yeah, it's been a trying week, that's for sure.
And did the police say anything?
No.
Did they catch the guys?
No,
Did they even go talk to them?
No. All that happens in my Tecompton area, better known as Tacoma, is you call up to report that kind of stuff, and they send you right to online, and you fill out the police report, and that gets round filed, I'm sure, right after that, because nothing ever happens from it. You never get a call back, you never get a show up, you don't get anything. So I am my own investigator.
Well, you know what? I'll bet if you would have shot him, the cops would have been there.
Well, absolutely, and people have said that. Well, tell him you got a gun. Well, that doesn't do any good because I know from experience that if you say that you have a gun, that they come there and the first thing they want to do is know where you are and where your gun is and don't bother any with the criminals. So I do not say that any longer, that I have a gun, because that doesn't do anything besides get them in my house looking for my gun. So, no, I don't say that. And so, yeah, nothing has come of it, and I knew it wouldn't. That's just,
How sad is that?
I've
I mean,
lived there for 23 years, actually longer than that, but I've been a homeowner there for 23 years, and I know how it works. I go to the Safe Streets meetings in my neighborhood. I know that they're overwhelmed. I know that every domestic violence call takes 2 police officers. If they get 5 of those a night, all 10 of the officers that work in my district are busy and stay busy. And if they're not on a domestic violence call, then they're on the robbery call or, whatever it may be. Prowlers, car theft, that kind of stuff. It doesn't get an officer anymore. That's just the society we live in.
Wow, that's a bummer.
It is. It's unfortunate, and it makes you be your own investigator and your...
So you're a vigilante then, in other words.
It is very close to that.
Loader, how you doing, man? How you doing?
I haven't had no burglaries.
Yeah. So you got a migraine.
Yeah, I got a migraine.
Ugh. And they don't come very often, but when they do,
they take me for about a week.
They are
wow.
unpleasant.
That's crazy. That is literally crazy. Well, congratulations, Rusty King P1. That might be. Oh, well, we're gonna get into that. Well, I want to say, I'm glad Tim Chase is here. Some of you have read that on Facebook that they're selling all their stuff. Their stuff's for sale. They'd like to keep it together, not part it out. But you can buy some fast gear.
Top-notch stuff.
If you're serious about going UAS racing and you want something that is capable of running up front anywhere, this is the stuff you need to buy. Guaranteed. It's proven. It's
is plans changing?
He said there's nothing wrong. Everything's fine. It's just they just felt it's time to move on. I'm assuming Steven's got a brand new baby on the way. He wants to be able to spend some time, I'm sure, with his family and baby and stuff. And he's into the sand drags and that stuff now too. And so I don't know. Rumor has it that BK10 will be it for Diotti too. I mean, he's got his business going on, and so he's missing some business there. So I think his time is limited too. So, but I guess in saying it is sad. You can't deny that. It's super sad. They're great people. And it doesn't mean they're going to go away, but you know how it goes. I mean, a lot of life gets in the way, and you mean well and all that, but that's just sometimes that's how it goes. But
everything comes around. It's just,
it does.
For example, you and I, we were friends down in Woodburn for years. They used to incorporate you to come and help me push cars off the racetrack, and
I mean it is.
Stuff, and then I moved away, and then all of a sudden,
but everything changes though.
Yeah.
I mean it's weird. I mean. And you fight it at first.
Oh yeah.
You don't like it. I mean, who wants to see? Who can imagine a BK without chasing Diotti there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you just can't. That's it's kind of like when Wayne Felch left too. It was kind of the same thing. I mean, everybody carried on. It went on, but there's still that.
There's a hole.
Yeah, there's a void there, and it's going to be. I mean, I certainly. I mean, we were imagining it before, but I can remember the first time they came, they made a huge impact. The race has never been the same since.
They raised the bar.
They did. I mean, it was incredible how a group can make such a difference in a race. And since then, I mean, well, you've seen it. It's been awesome. But so Tim, I mean, I totally get it and I understand. But still, it doesn't change the fact that, it's going to be a huge blow to the sport. I mean, that's just when you lose somebody like that, it's a tough one.
Well, hopefully somebody will pick it up that wants to carry it on. And
let's hope so. It's not another garage ornament. We don't need any more of those. But anyway, yeah, for sure. Well, we got some results. From Salem, I don't know. Should we?
We should.
And tonight's Winner's Circle Wednesday is brought to you by C High Performance, home of the Superfly Quick Stand, Superfly Wedge Bodies, Superfly Wing, Super Brake, and more. They're also available for custom product design and development. And so when you want to go, the place to go is C High Performance. They're opening a new building. It's on, and I may have said this last week, but it's right on a main drag. 20,000 cars a day go by there. It's right on the corner of a stoplight in Chesney, South Carolina. It's going to be just a showroom. They're going to have full-blown carts in there because Chris said, I want a son and dad or son and daughter or whatever to be able to come in, look at it, touch it, feel it, smell it, sit in it.
Get hooked on it.
Yeah. And then he said it's kind of for the boys. So when Austin and Evan, after school, after their homework, they can get down there and bust. And so they've been working on it. He bought the building a while ago, but been working on it. They got the floor all decked out. I mean, I guess it's really, really cool. So he said, you miss going to the go-kart shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what it is. There's not going to be any parts there, at least yet, but it's just going to be a really neat showroom and a place for them to go show off the sport. So I think that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Real cool.
Yeah. So Chris C. is the man, one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. So let's support him. He's good peeps.
Definitely.
Saturday, I went down and I cruised down. I got there late, but boy, I'm up in the. I bitch when I'm up in the announcer's booth. I got to say those racers they're into it because it was cold. It was so bloody cold. I mean, good Lord. Shane Biles brings me a root beer float. I can't even hardly hold on to it. It's so cold. My hands are numb, So Phil Fow and I went out. We hung out, watched some racing. Beginner box, Tanner Gentry. Beginner box, non-Subaru, Patrick Battaglia, Lexi Meyer. Box stock, Jaden Trupp, the Cowboy, Mason Myers, and Destry Miller. Quarter Junior. They had a lot of quarter midgets there. Quarter Junior, Quarter Open, and Quarter Animal.
Wow.
Zach Reel, Andrew Reel, Cody Greer were in the Quarter Junior, 1, 2, and 3. Let's see. Fast Eddie Strange won the Quarter Open. Quarter Animal went to Zach Reel, Andrew Reel, and Cody Greer. 5-horse Open, Jojo Battaglia, Natalie Hudson, and Andrea Stutz. 125 cage went to Carson Borden, Cole Borden, and Miles Massey. 250 went to, can you guess who that is, Lippy?
That would have been Lane.
Very good. Another one.
Nice.
Have you ever seen the guy lose?
No.
Me either.
Back in the day, maybe.
Alex Reich, second. Ben Swatzel, third. Colby Thornhill, fourth. Carter Murphy, fifth. Pacific Mini Sprint Association. Andrew Markin. He wins it. Genji was second. And Crystal Flat, third. Let's see. Junior Micro, Haley Constance, Brooklyn Constance, and Peyton Drake. Mini stocks. This is Saturday night. Corey Sweatman wins the mini stocks.
What?
I thought you'd get a kick out of that, Jeff. And, yeah, Sweatman wins it. Jacob Keller and Austin Henderson. Let's see. Pro 4 went to Papa Tom Ferrando, Rick Wagner, Mike Wagner. Micro Restricted went to Braden Mateus. Blaine Granberg and Tegan Fisher were 1, 2, and 3. Lindsey Barney wins the 600. Theo McCarty, second. Justin McConville. Have you heard of Justin McConville? That kid is good. He finished third tonight, but he was really good. Even as a young gun, he was good. He looks like a grown man now. It's crazy seeing these kids when you see them when they're little juniors, and then you look at them and they're like men-child. You know what I mean? Lee Searle wins the midgets. Renee Angel has it won. You know the spacer that goes in between the, on the splines for like the back wheel? Evidently, it was too long, and the nut doesn't tighten down all the way, so there's some slop there, or it was too short rather, and so the nut bottoms out, and the wheel comes loose, and so she ends up getting second instead of winning it.
Bummer.
Yeah, well, if Biles would have been there to crew for her, it would have been. No, I'm just kidding. Alyssa Piles was third, and then David Veter. He didn't start. Let's see here. Dwarfs, Brian Smith, Danny Altum, and Sean Dory. Sunday, they had a lot of cars. What?
A dwarf on that track to me that's insane.
They actually, it's a pretty good size for them, really. Believe it or not. It's those mini stocks. Those, you put 3 of them on there, and it looks like the whole track's full, right? And they're driving 5 and 6 and 7. I mean, it's crazy. Beginner box went to Keegan Asher, Jeremy Long, Tanner Gentry. Let's see, beginner box non-Subaru, Jesse Henry, Desmond Carley, and Casey Stutz. Box stock went to Sizzlin' Seth Waldall, Jaden Trepp, and Alona Winningham. We got Ryan Hirschbach taking the 5-horse open. 125 cage went to Carson Borden. 250 cage went to Colby Thornhill. Lane Taylor was second. So I asked, did we ever see him get beat? There it is. Let's see here.
He got beat by a stud, too.
Yes, he did. Thornhill is a stud.
Yes, for sure.
Open cage on Saturday night. I almost forgot that. I was saving that for last. Johnny Burke wins it on a TV time limit. They were under caution, and he had been pretty good most of the night, so it was about right. But they had like yellow, so they just called it. That's it. Under a parade lap, under caution, they called it. So Burke wins it. Hudson and Kate Jackson from the Charlie's Angels.
What?
That was on Saturday night. Yeah,
good was she?
Yeah, I didn't see her. She had her helmet on.
Oh.
But she can roll, so if she looks anything like she rolls, yeah, probably
helmet
pretty
hair.
good. Yeah.
Helmet hair.
Yeah. Let's see. Cody Greer wins the quarter junior. Ian Miller wins the quarter animal. Junior micro went to Haley Constance.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Zach Massey second. Peyton Drake third. Brooklyn Constance fourth. And Carson Gaffey fifth. Micro restricted went to Peyton Hagan. Dakota Drake and Ben Ferrara. Micro Open, Lindsey Barney wins that. Hunter Stanley and Adam Hines. Barney also won the 600 on Saturday night, too, which was, she's quite good. Quite good, she is. Let's see here. Yeah, Lindsey Barney, Theo McCarty. Yep, I got those. Let's see. Hunter Stanley was second on Sunday. That's good. And that was it. March 11th and 12th. Some of you know that it was canceled. Somebody said the last Cage Kart Challenge race was canceled. That's what my impression was. Well, apparently they threw it out for a vote, and it came back that the racers didn't want to do it during the summer. They wanted to do it. So they March 11th and 12th is the finale at Salem. It's now a points race. It's still the second part of the Cage Kart Challenge, in which the first one had over $9,000 in cash and prizes to all classes and A-main competitors. And this coming up race looks to be about the same. So that's pretty good. $9,000 worth of cash and prizes. It's not bad. The 11th is going to be all Cage Kart hot laps and heats on Saturday. Saturday night will be the mini stocks, Pro 4s, dwarfs, and micros. Sunday, the 12th, will be all the main events for the Cage Karts. 1 hot lap, 2 heats, and 1 main for the micros and the Pacific mini sprints. That's how that'll go for a 2-day show. And that's the 11th and 12th of March. And it goes down like this. Immediate rule addendum. There was some problems at the track. Jeremy, some guy was hot and put his hands on Jeremy, pinned him up against the wall, and proceeded to tell him he did not like the call. So they called the Oregon State Police. They came. They escorted him out.
Oh, only escorted him out.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I didn't hear the rest of it, but Putting your hands on an official in any way, shape, or form will result in the immediate removal from that day's and future events with the possibility of criminal charges and or fines paid to the racetrack. This will not be tolerated.
Absolutely should.
That goes without saying. You know, that's exactly the kind of stuff that I'm talking about when you lose your mind. How much are we racing for here? Were they racing for any money?
I don't care if they were.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. You know, I mean, they're not all going to go your way. You may not like it, but you know, so what? I mean, is it worth all of that? You know, I don't understand. I just don't. It's senseless, and it seems that's happening more and more and more and more, and it needs to stop.
Well, it's too many, and most all the time, if you will look at what's happening, it's parents. Parents don't like to call.
Right. You know, and really, let the kids work. You know, Chris Egger made a thing at a driver's meeting once where he said, you know, the parents need to just stay out of it, right? It's between the two kids that were racing, whatever. Parents don't like it. That's a given. Okay, great. But let the kids sort it out. Let them work it out. Let them handle it. And, you know, it's probably going to be done the right way because they forgive and they say, hey, I'm sorry, you know, whatever the case is. But it's, you know, you're right. So parents, let it be known that you don't like it, but leave the kid alone and let them take care of it. I mean, that's really how it should go down.
And if anybody wants to be one of those officials, I'll give them. I'll put you out there in a yellow coat.
But exactly.
Believe
and
me,
you make the call.
It isn't as easy as you think it is.
It is not. You're making a split-second decision, and hopefully you saw it all. That's the thing. But you know, still, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some.
Exactly.
So I mean, it all works out in the wash. So that needs to stop. So if you can't control yourself there, I guess the answer is don't show up on the 11th and 12th.
It's time to find a new sport.
Yeah, or something.
I don't think that guy will be showing up anyway.
Well, yeah, and you'd be surprised if you knew who it was. But still, so please, people, you know, show up with a good attitude and you know, let's keep this deal in perspective because it's this is not worth the other stuff. I mean, even for $1 million, well, for $1 million, I wouldn't put my hand. Well, yeah, I wouldn't. But still, you know what I mean. So,
unless you're Jimmy Spence,
that's enough of that. Hey, don't forget March 15th, the Northwest Race Report. We're going to be up at Angel Racing up in Woodinville, Washington. So excited about that. So mark that on your calendars and come and hang out with us on the show. It's going to be cool. Yeah, I've got, that was it. I mean, it's weird. You get, sometimes in the winter you're busy. You got WHR, you got all the stuff. But as we wind down, what's there to look forward to?
Oh, everything.
Summer.
It's springtime.
Well, you got a lot. You got your... you're crewing for your modified guy there.
Yeah, the modifieds. We got it's in the shop on stands. Bodies put on it. Got to do the trim out. Get the wrap on it. Finish a couple A-pillars. It's ready to rock and roll.
Yeah,
and we're talking March 30th. We'll be over in Yakima. The 31st is first race, and the 1st of April will be the second night.
Wow. Well, what race are you guys looking forward to out there? I know.
And then I'll be back in Yakima the next week because I'm going back over with Devin West and their
on the car. Yeah, cool. Sean Carr, Scott Warning, Brian Esquinia, rest of you guys. What race are you looking forward to coming up? Chime in on the chat. Let us know. I think I am probably looking forward to.
Well, see, the Apple Cup will be a cool race.
Yeah, it will be.
Everybody's new stuff's all coming out.
Yeah, you get to see all the fresh new designs and stuff. That's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to I don't know, when's the opening UAS race? Is it at our place?
The UAS in the area hasn't been announced yet.
Okay, so we don't know that yet, but I'm looking forward to the UAS race, the first opening one.
And the opening of the late model thing. I'm still trying to figure out if anybody out there has any tips for me on what camera I need to live stream some late model events. I need to know, because I'm looking at these cameras and I'm going, huh?
I know.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, and I don't know enough about it, so I want to get something decent that will get me through. But I can't afford the $10,000 one, so don't even do that one. But I need something maybe in the 15 to 25 range and whatever. So
Ronnie Cox says Cycle Land on April 1st.
Oh, Cycle Land on April 1st.
Oh, that's right. You're going to Cycle Land, and you got to be back for PBT.
Yeah. That's 24 hours up. It could happen. We did it before. But, Cycle Land, April 1st. That'll be cool. That'll be really cool. Let's see. Scott Warning, what is going on? He is the Ohio Valley Administrator. And, good to have him on the show. Lots of UAS news. I haven't heard from Chizzy in a while. I know he was going to be doing some stuff for us, but
he was fishing.
Yeah, he's did you see him on a speedboat? Did you see him when he rams the throttle? That's funny. I cracked up. But well, don't go anywhere, guys. We got some cool stuff coming up. We got our segments coming up here, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Racing. It's preparation. It's focus. It's attention to detail. And when you try to take shortcuts, it shows. At Speed City, Southern Oregon's karting headquarters, distributor for Ultramax, Legend, QRC, Bell Helmets, and K1 race gear, they don't roll like that. Speed City is committed to roll the way champions roll, by keeping racers on track with knowledge, integrity, and performance. No shortcuts, no negativity, no other motives. You don't just have their word on it, you've got their name on it. So get back to having fun and get to calling Speed City. Speed City, LLC, keeping racers on track with quality service and friendship. 541-531-1222.
We're tracking and packing around the Northwest with the loader, Jeff Eden.
Throw me a wrench in that deal. It wasn't quite right. Well, tonight we're going to talk about the hidden dangers of concussions. And after there's been some pretty wild racing already this year down in Florida and stuff, and some guys have taken some pretty hard shots, like Hottenchild and Dale Blaney, and there's been people hurt in the stands and stuff like that. But I just seen this deal with the concussions in the magazine, and I decided to do a little research on it. WebMD says concussion is a type of traumatic brain injury that could be caused by a blow to the head or the body in a fall, and another type of injury that jars or shakes the brain inside the skull. So anything like this can, my son played football in college. He had 2 major concussions. I take it to that's the reason he is the way he is today.
So you're telling me you don't even have to hit your head, just a good solid hard stop could do it?
Exactly. That's what got Earnhardt was the stop, the impact, the how fast he stopped, and that made the brain hit the front of the skull on the inside.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a blow to the helmet or something.
No.
Wow.
No. I mean, it's later on I'll get into a deal where the kart guys are talking about this stuff, but concussion symptoms. A concussion symptom is a headache or a feeling of pressure in the head. Temporary loss of consciousness. It don't have to be, but as the guys told me, it's just a split second. It could be 30 seconds. You've got one. Confusion or feeling like you're in a fog. Pretty much me all the time, so I guess. Amnesia surrounding the event. So say you go out and you crash. You have no recollection of what happened or anything. You may have not been unconscious, but you don't even know what happened. A lot of times they say they'll come back, but for the most part, you don't know. Dizziness or seeing of stars. Your eyes will have this. You just they say it's just like seeing stars. You're just like what they show in the cartoons with the stars flying
The
around.
Tweety birds and everything. Yeah.
Basically, that's what you're ringing in the ears. Something that minor. Nausea, slurred speech, and delayed response to questions. This is I think is probably one of the biggest ones, and this is where the NFL, NASCAR is one of their things that they're starting with is baselines on your responses. That's where they're getting this stuff at. Later on in here, I got a deal where the guy's talking about where he thought he did really good on a test, and he didn't even. An 8-year-old did better than he did. So,
Wow, that's crazy.
Appearing dazed, like you're walking around in a fog, or you can be fatigued or feel tired, and it happens. From the article I was reading, it's an instantaneous thing. You'll just, man, I am tired, man. That would, and you may not even know that you've been hit, basically at that point, and it could be nothing more than let's go out to the ORV track. You come bouncing off a turn number 2, and you go flying down across the back stretch there, and you're bouncing around, you come back up the other side. That's enough to cause a concussion if you're doing it hard enough. Your brain is jiggling within its
Nut.
Yeah. This gentleman by the name of Dave Ely is the one where they were really kind of brought it to the attention of. In 2013, they were back in Pennsylvania. They'd had a rainstorm come through. They had a track wicked fast. And it's a big half mile there. It goes out, sets fast time for the night with the World Outlaws. So you're messing with Kinsers and the Swindells and all them guys. And you're fast time, but you're a local racer there at the track. Goes out for hot laps. All of a sudden, he doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't understand what's even going on with the car. He's coming up onto people, can't figure out how to get by them. Finally just coast her into the pits. Went into the trailer, sat down, sitting there, and he told the crew, he says, load her up. And everybody's going, what do you mean? We're fast time. We're outside pole for the heat race. He says, nope. He says, we're loading her up. I do not have an idea what I'm even doing or what is going on. And the crew was a little, they're at a point of, why because he'd had a couple bad wrecks 4 or 5 years ago, but nothing now. So basically what it come down to determine that he was inside the car. The track was so tacky and sticky that when you're hitting those corners and you're hitting the berms, your head's bouncing back and forth against the side braces on the seats. And they've implemented these full containment seats for these guys. So now all of a sudden this full containment seat you're banging your head against it. It ain't good. You're talking like with an Indy car. An Indy car, they said when they're doing street courses, they were bouncing off of curbs. Well, with the Indy car, you got so much more technology. You got these things in your ears and all over the place. They were registering out of their ears that they were doing 20 G's bouncing off of curbs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
20 G's?
20 G's.
Wow.
So in the process, they started adding different types of foam and different stuff to make them more tighter in the car to where the foam's absorbing, not letting them bounce. And they've got it down to now where it's less than 5 G's. So, there's a lot to be said for containment, but also when you take a sprint car or a dirt modified or your go-kart or any of that stuff, you can't put something up here by your head because you got to be able to see. Indy cars, they're looking straight forward. They got spotters, they got radios. They don't They don't need that other stuff. So anyway, it goes back to so he went to a concussion specialist, and David, he had went to him the first time he'd had a concussion, and they'd give him kind of an outline on what was, what protocol was going to be. So he goes in to do his test, and it took him 120 seconds to recognize these 40 items. And an 8-year-old did it in 50 seconds.
Wow.
So that's how slow his brain was at that point in time.
Holy smokes.
So, and then one of the things that they were doing was your eyes focusing on, and this is one of the things, and I looked this up separately off the internet, and it's really weird. You can go on there and Google it, concussion in eyes, and they'll start following your finger across, and one eye will follow, and it gets over here, and then this eye takes over, and this eye just kind of wanders off. Your eyes will not stay simultaneously back and forth with the finger. If your brain is slowed down, one eye will take off once you go past with your finger. It won't follow.
Interesting.
Wow.
So it's cool to watch this guy. I mean, he's just a long person. This eye just goes back this way, and this one follows it. So it's some scary stuff when you come down to it. And then trying to stand on one leg. If you got a concussion, you can't. Your brain will not let you balance.
Oh, B.
So it's
Well, it's something, I know it's really big in sports, basketball even though you don't see a lot. I mean, but, you come down crashing on the floor. I've seen it time and time again. You going for a rebound, get undercut or whatever. They come down, boom, boom, their head slams and hits the floor. It's big. I mean, there's concussion protocols. To be a referee now, you have to take a class on it. I mean, you can remove them, but you cannot stop them from coming back. If they leave and they get okay, or they talk with their parents or whatever the case is, then you're not supposed to fool with it. But initially, you can remove somebody from the game.
Well, that's the referee in the NFL has the right to send you to the sidelines, regardless. And then they have to go through their protocol at that point. I mean, it's good that somebody can see this. And something it's helped this turn to light is what Junior did. I mean, when an Art Junior says, "Hey,
it's not worth it.
It's not right. I'm not right to sit out 18 races for somebody that's your livelihood." That had to be hard. Knowing that, and
well, not everybody can do that, though. I mean, he makes probably more money on his endorsements and everything than he does on anything else. But
it's still, it's not Jared Landers. He was fighting a concussion. He fought a concussion almost all of last year.
Well, and then I saw Danica Patrick had an article too that she said, her career may come to an end. I mean, she says I'm one hard blow away from being done.
Yeah, and she had some hard ones in IndyCar. So. But see, it was then, it wasn't being documented. Now things are being, they're scrutinizing this a little bit more to the point of the documentation.
Well, Kevin Bridges chimes in. He says that's what killed Eric Medlin.
Yes,
Absolutely.
It was. Yeah, he got what they called Eric's deal was shaken baby syndrome.
Yep.
Because he just literally rattled the car shook. It just literally shook him to death.
Sean Carr said, too, the victim may ask the same question over and over, and he will yawn constantly.
Mm-hmm. That's part of that where the confusion deal. And it's, it's nothing to be taken lightly. That's the whole thing. That's one of the reasons that this...
Serious biz.
That one of the things when I seen this, I thought, this is good. And I've kind of broke it down to where it will be I got 3 segments out of it. But one of the things that they were talking about, especially with the guys, is the Randy LaJoie. He's a great person with everything as far as wanting safety and stuff. And Chris, the gentleman that owns the race car that I work with, they were back at Boone, Iowa. LaJoie set him in this seat and made a few changes, and did this stuff. And he said, if I would have bought that seat, it was $1,900. And he said, I would have had to taken it out every year and put it in my living room to sit in.
That
He said, in reality, he said it was more comfortable than my recliner is. But he said, it's unreal the stuff they can do, but the average Joe racer has trouble buying something like that.
Boy, that's freaking awesome.
But that's it for this week on that one.
Right on.
And big money.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, guys.
The 3 most expensive things you'll do in your life are buy a house, educate your kids, and go racing. What you don't need is another expense, and that's why you take your car and tow rigs to TruTech Automotive to ensure that they are maintained and repaired the right way with the right parts at the right price. And how's this for right? Extended to all racers is the In the Family 25% discount off of all preventative maintenance and repair labor. All you have to do is use the discount code NWRR to save. Now that's right. Get it done the right way, the TruTech way. TruTech Automotive, 6900 Northeast Highway 99, Hazeldale, Washington. 360-571-2302.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lappin' with Lippy, brought to you by Scott Seal Coat. For all your sealing and striping needs, get a hold of Scott Seal Coat. We can stripe it or seal it. Whatever your needs are, just give Scott Seal Coat a call and we'll make it happen. All right, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're having a good day. It's hump day. And here we are. The unsung heroes. That's the little job that sits on your motor that puts the power to the axle. It does the lion's share of the work. Let's face it. The motor makes the horsepower, and its job is to get it to the axle. And a lot of times, it doesn't get a lot of attention. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about this week is, what makes the clutch work and why it works. There's several different clutches out there, whether it be a dry clutch or a wet clutch. All of them have the same physical characteristics. They all pretty much do the same job. They just do it differently. 90% of the clutches in my garage are wet clutches. We prefer the Berkeys, whether it be regular old Yamaha or one of our bigger two-stroke motors. They all run the same thing, and they do need attention. They can't be just left alone. I've had clutches that have gone out one weekend and been right where they should. I generally set up mine between 10.2 and 10.5. That's where I like them to hook up the best. Now, we've had some tracks where we've gone almost 1,000 RPMs lower than that, and other tracks where we get up around 10.8. But it's definitely worthwhile on paying attention to and getting it where it works the best for you. I set mine up probably 200 to 300 RPMs less than Rusty sets up his. It's just a weight difference for us. That's why we do that kind of stuff. But again, it's all about maintenance on these things. On our wet clutches, we put fresh fluid in the morning of the race weekend. We'll run it through practice and our heat races. After our heat races, we go into the main event with fresh fluid in them. The dry clutches, they take a little bit more abuse, and obviously you don't have to continue with the fluid changes on them, but they still they need weekly maintenance. They need to be taken apart, totally disassembled on the bench. I recommend taking acetone, and what I use is a 10 by 10 cake pan.
Oh, yeah, like a cookie sheet maybe even?
Yeah, exactly. A cookie sheet cake pan. Mine's a cake pan, a little bit deeper so that I can get a bit of fluid in there. All my components go out. They go into that. I clean them, basically just sloshing them around in the acetone, and then I pull them out one by one. I air dry them. with my air compressor, and then I reassemble everything. There's one needle bearing in the middle there that I take out, clean very well, and I use a very, 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 very light amount of Vaseline on it. And I mean very light amount. You don't want to use any other kind of greases, oils, anything like that. What you end up with is a sling that comes from that bearing and works its way out onto your discs. And once it gets on your discs, you're pretty much done. The clutch is not going to stop working, but its efficiency is going to go down greatly. So all you want to do, what I like to do is I'll take the needle bearing and I'll put a dab on my two fingers, my index finger and my thumb, and then I'll roll the bearing through that and then wipe off any of the excess that I can. And that's all I do to that bearing. There's a floater on either side of it. You want to make sure that that goes back in where it should be and that it's dry and doesn't have any other kinds of fluids on that at all when it goes back together as well. You can put a dab of the same Vaseline onto the shaft before you slide it onto the shaft. That pretty much takes the majority of your abuse. The load of the chain and everything else goes onto that shaft, which is in that inner bearing that's on the inside of that dry clutch. So you want to make sure that that has some kind of a lube on it as well. And then after that, you want to assemble it all back up and get it back onto the motor. I definitely recommend doing what we do on the stand is one hand on the brake, one hand on the gas after you get it back in there, warmed up. This is, again, on a clutch that has already been run through its heat cycles. And you want to warm the motor up. You want to work the gas against the brake and have somebody else watching the tachometer to tell you where it's going up to before the rear wheels start to move forward again. Basically, you're setting the stall on it or where it's going to come in and give you all of its grip. So you want to be on top of that. You want it to be very close to where it is. That is going to change a little bit. A lot of guys like to get down in the cart and put it on the ground. That's probably the best way. I usually will double check mine during my hot laps as the race is over with and I'm coming back off of the track. Down the back straightaway is generally where I will check my stall on my clutch to make sure that it's exactly where I want it to be. That way I've already ran my my practice run and everything like that. Everything has heat in it. Everything's been working, and I will double check that as I'm coming off the track after my warm up laps out there to make sure the clutch is where I want it. You also want to periodically, run a feeler gauge in on these things. I run several different dry clutches, especially on my four-stroke motors. I have some Horseman X5s that I run on those. I have bully clutches. I've got some other MDCs and a few other dry clutches that I run on different things, but each one of them, what I'm getting at, has a different specification. My X5s have 28 thousandths is the feeler gauge you want to be able to shove in between the floater and the disc to determine whether it has the adequate clearance or too much clearance. And then you want to do that on at least 2 to 3 different places on that clutch in between different discs to make sure that it's where you want it. The bully clutches, I believe, are 35 thousandths, and you want to run that in on those. Now, if you get to a point where it's got more than that, or we'll say maybe it doesn't have enough. So what you want to do is you want to pull the hat off. That's the pressure plate. It's a top portion that has the springs in it. You want to pull that off, and they make a special spacer that goes in between the lower portion of the disc and the pressure plate that will space that up. That's going to give you the desired clearance that you want in there. Now, if you get later in the season and your gap's getting too much, then you're going to want to pull the hat out and pull one of those spacers out, which is going to drop the hat down and give you, what you want as far as clearances go. Now, they make different floaters thicknesses. They make different disc thicknesses. and those are how you make everything work out to where you get the desired clearance in there. Now, Kevin Berkey, that I work with quite a bit on my wet clutches, always says when you want to start replacing discs in your clutch, he doesn't recommend doing them all at once. He's thrifty like I am. So he always says start with the bottom disc and work your way up. So when you want to put a new disc in it, you go all the way to the bottom of the pack, you put a new disc in there, and you shuffle everything up towards the top. And you continue to do that, and he says to feed a new disc to it each time you want to do that, and that way you'll eventually shuffle out the older ones and in with the newer ones. And he says the bottom one does the majority of the work, and the top ones are just helping. So he always tells me to start at the bottom and work my way to the top whenever I'm getting into a clutch. And if I'm not going for a full-blown rebuild, which I've only smoked one Berkey clutch, and it happened up at Skagit. Rusty and I were trying to run 2 motors. The cart was a rocket until one motor died on us, and then one was pulling the whole weight, and it ended up just... It just, the whole clutch, just basically all the guts I had to go through and replace it all. It warped everything and basically just ate up the whole inside of it. It didn't tear up the Berkey itself, but all the discs and everything were just black and garbage. But anyways, you always want to start with the bottom and work your way to the top on that, and replace them as you go. And there's a break-in process that you should be doing with this kind of stuff. And forgive me, but I did not get to research all that this week. So next week when we come in, I'm gonna tell you what you want to do with a brand new bully style dry clutch, because there is a certain procedure that you should do. Don't buy one of these things out of the box, bolt it on your cart, fire it up, run it once. Yeah, it's locking where I want, and head out on the track to race, because that is not what you want. And you have to go through a process to temper things and to make everything seal over. It's a process that should be done, and it should be done when you get a new clutch. So tune in with us next week, and we're going to go through the whole break-in process of a dry clutch.
Right on, right on, right on. That's pretty interesting. Now, Renee Angel said she has 300 main events on her KT Berkey clutch. That's a lot of main events.
Well, the Berkey clutches are, they're pretty doggone bulletproof. And if you maintenance them properly, you can get oodles and gobbies of time out of them. The thing that I found with the Berkey clutches that generally goes bad is the springs. So once you find a variation in it, or it's not quite where you want it to be, if you throw a new set of springs in it, you're usually right back on top of things. I've never actually used up a disc other than the one that happened up at Skagit for us, and that was just operator error for us.
Right on.
It wasn't the clutch's fault.
Hey, we got a new listener, Brian Bowman, in the house. He said, "Where's my yellow tape?" Ricky, first-time listener. Welcome to the show, Brian. Glad you're here, man. Hopefully you're enjoying it, and everybody on here is pretty awesome. So welcome to the show. Glad you're here. It's cool stuff.
You don't know Bowman?
No, no, he's first-time listener. He hasn't been on the show. Who?
He's a late model guy, I believe, from way. I think I know Brian. Is this not? Yeah, Brian knows me, I believe. I used to sell him auto parts when I was selling auto parts, but he's been around the late model scene forever. The Bowman family.
Oh, so is it, Brian? Are you running super lates, or what are you still running late models? What are you doing? Chime in on that chat line. Let us know what's up. Well, that's cool. That's really cool.
I believe that's who it is. I was building him some Holly carburetors back in the day when they were running out at Spanaway. Oh, boy.
That's really cool. Super cool. Well, mine's going to be quick. I was just reading, I have this thing. I don't know. I mean, I get practice is important and planning is important. But you can plan and practice yourself purple. and you're not going to get anywhere. And so, I was reading a post, and it says, they were practicing carrying on. Oh, anybody seen something about this data on this R thing, whatever. And I'm like, data acquisition is good. It helps you get where you need to be. Planning helps. It's good. You should do that. But there's only a certain amount of that you can do for so long before you have to just get out there and go do it. And at that point, data is important, but until you're there, competitive every week, I just don't see what some guys, it's a big deal that they're all worried about the data, and it's like, well, you should be more worried about the fact that you're running 14th and 15th than you are the data. And so I just don't I just don't quite understand it. So I guess what I'm saying is, if your results are continually the same, you're using data, you're doing all that, you need to start looking other places, because your problem isn't lack of data or lack of practice. You need to just look around. So, but make sure you're there first. Worry about, make the little things a priority. But some of that stuff you don't really need it until you're there consistently. I don't know. Maybe I'm all wet. Maybe I'm over looking at it, but it just seems to be, you're never going to substitute that race time. They want seat time, but there's race time too, and you got to get out there and mix it up and find out where you're at. And data's only going to help you do that for when you're there, because up until that point you really don't know what you're doing anyway. So you've got to have a good solid understanding before data really starts making a difference, I think.
Exactly.
So
yeah, that's what we was talking about when I was talking the other day about the guys in the late models going all this data stuff. They're going to price late models out of
right.
out of existence.
And for that, in some degrees, and I'm not trying to make an exception here, but maybe a little bit different, because you've got shocks and spring rates that you're working with. You got wheel travel, all that stuff. All that stuff is that's going to get you dialed in or dialed out. But as far as karting goes, it is tough. And so a lot of times you just need to get out there. I shouldn't say most of the guys, everybody starts somewhere. Use your own discretion. Just know that if you're doing all this stuff and your results are continually the same, then you need to ignore the data. You need to ignore the whatever you're doing and start hunting for why the results are the same. If you're running in the mid-pack and 13, 14, 15th for the last 2 years, you're not improving. Something else needs to probably take place. This is my 2 cents on that. Anyway, that's a perfect lead into our guest tonight, who his name is Ronnie Swyers, and he owns product41.com. He's a big data guy, and it's going to be good to talk to him. I'm going to ask him a little bit about that, because that's one of the questions I have on that is the data part of it. It's huge now. It is huge.
Oh yeah,
and especially on the sprint side of things, I think it could help the speedway guys if they did more. But you know what I mean? It's one of those things, and I think Ronnie will have some interesting stuff.
I think Wayne Thompson hit it on the nose there. He says the data won't make any sense until you know the feel of the car or the cart that you're in.
I agree. That's what I mean. Some of the type of guys I'm talking about, right? They'll plan everything, right? From mounting the seat, everything's just a big planning session, and it's like, good Lord, go race the thing.
Make it happen first. Get out there. Get the feel of it. Make some laps.
Yeah.
Get her done.
What is going on? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. One of the coolest cats. I just got a chance to meet him. He owns product41.com, and his name is Ronnie Swyers. Ronnie, welcome to the show, my brother.
How you doing, Terry?
I am doing good. I don't know if you just heard my last segment, but, I'm gonna give you the example of the guy that he's just getting started, right? He's got all the stuff. He doesn't really know anything. He's just getting started, but he's wanting to just do this with the data and that with the data and this with the data and all that. He's not even really in the hunt yet. He doesn't even really understand what he's got. But to me, it seems like the data's not going to do anything until you're pretty much there, right? I mean, I don't know. Help me out here.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the data side of things, especially for new drivers, you can inundate yourself so much with it that you don't focus on the driving aspect, especially as a new driver. So for new drivers, I've always found that if let's use a sports car, for example, with a new driver, or shifter cart, same thing. I can go out with the cart and do what I call a baseline lap. And that gives me data traces of speed and braking and various things like that. So now I've got a good baseline that driver can work towards. I've gave him a goal. And then he can go out and try and actually match that goal or see where he's fast or slow, and then we can talk about the reasons why. But I always, I deal with a lot of new drivers all the time, whether it's karting or in full-size car racing, and they're interested in it. And I always tell people, get involved with it, because it's a learning tool. And, we never stop learning, and the information that you gather might not make sense to you at the time, but as you progress through the month, the year, your career, you have something to look back on and compare yourself and how you progressed. That make sense?
Yeah, it does. Well, let's rewind a little bit. I know I probably threw one at you pretty early, but tell us a little bit about.
I expect that from you, Terry. It's all good.
Tell us a little bit about your experience and how Product 41 came to be.
Well, it could be a long story, and I think we're going to save that for another time. But basically, the Product 41, by trade, I'm a driver coach. I started racing back when I was 18 years old, influenced by an uncle of mine, and started local sports car racing, and then kind of retired from that, went to go-karting, and I started teaching and coaching back probably when I was 20, almost 25 years ago. I spent a lot of time at the Ford Performance Racing School as a driver coach and various programs around the country. And when I come back home and I go to the local tracks, the people that know me and we start talking, they're always either asking me about, where do I get this? How do I do that? How come my car won't handle like this? And so I started really getting into the enjoyment of helping people. And then they asked me, well, God, it's a cool helmet, or wow, where'd you get that AIM stuff at? And I want that in my car. So I created Product 41 to start kind of basing the products that I carry around not necessarily the needs of a driver, but the wants of a driver. Because all drivers want cool stuff.
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
want the gadgets, you want the good-looking stuff, and so I created Product 41 kind of to go alongside my coaching business that I have, just to offer drivers some really cool stuff that I'm fairly experienced with, and all the stuff I sell I use, and I believe in it. So most of the stuff I used long before I started selling it. So yeah, I just kind of created the Product 41, and there's more of a meaning behind the name than what people think. It's not just something I sketched out.
Well, what is Product 41? Where'd you come up with that?
Well, 41 is a number. As I just mentioned, I was influenced as a young boy by an uncle of mine. His number was always 41. Our company, our family business, his CB handle number on the company CB was 41. His race car number was 41. Everything was 41. and he's really my idol in motorsports. And so when I started racing, that was the number I wanted to carry on, was the 41. So my early careers of auto racing, and then when I got into the go-karting and shifter carts and scoos and that side of things, 41 again. And it's just a number I've always just been kind of near and dear to me because it was his. So it's kind of sentimental.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so you can't have a company called 41. Not that product 41 really makes a whole lot more sense, but
sounds better though.
Right, but when I started just researching names and the meaning behind names and words and things, part of the description of the word product, if you look it up on, Wikipedia and dictionary, stuff like that, the meaning of the word is something like a good idea, method, information, object, or service created as a result of a process. So with all that being said, I kind of thought, well, that's kind of leads into what I kind of do. So then on some of my decal work, I've got a slogan on there that has all the stuff I just mentioned, but after the word process, I put, and serves a driver's needs or satisfies a driver's wants.
Wow.
So I came up with product 41.
That's cool.
The product's pretty cool. I liked it. I liked the meaning of it. And then, of course, my uncle, being 41 and my number 41, just wanted to include it. So
wow,
here it is.
Well, I can tell you my experience with 41, and because I'm an old school late model lover, one of the best guys in the Northwest was from Portland, Oregon, and he owned a place on it's on Union Avenue, which what it was called before it was Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, but it was called Allied Plating, and the guy's name was Ernie Sturley, and he was number 41, and he was badass. Let me tell you. He used to wear, the old school. Remember the old shiny driver suit? Remember they used to be really shiny. He'd have a white one of those, and he wore a pair of old wore out brown wingtip shoes.
I love it,
dude. It was killer.
It's really amazing when you find something that you're, I say, passionate about. We'll just use 41 as a number. There's, you related that to something in your racing career or something that you made you think of a person that was kind of special, or maybe touched you in a way that made you remember them for sure, for some reason. And it's funny that once you pick something like that, it's how often you see that. Like, I see the number 41 everywhere. We were doing a thing with the launch of the GT350 here a couple of years ago in Lime Rock, and there was a street sign that said it was the Connecticut State and the 41, and I made the guys pull over so I could take a picture of it. All kinds of stuff like that. And by the way, Kurt Busch, number 41, won the Daytona 500. Of course, I see that. So, but it's just amazing once you're passionate about a number or something that really has a meaning to it, and that number with again my late uncle, it means something. So you start really recognizing every word. It's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah, I think that works with anything. We bought a new Equinox. Mm-hmm. Once you buy a new Equinox, that's all you see is Equinoxes. You see them everywhere. Or if you talk about an old Nova, you'll, sure enough, some guy will be driving down the road with an old, 77 Nova that you were talking about. I mean, it's just like, it's crazy how that works. I don't even.
Once something's close enough to you and it affects your life on a daily basis, it could be a car, could be a paint color, it could be anything, a style of race car. Anything that catches your eye, that you start to think about, then you start recognizing it.
Yes. So when you're coaching, can anybody hire you to come coach them? I mean, What
Yeah.
what if Stephen Chase wanted to hire you as a driving coach? Not that he needs one, but
here's the thing. I've worked with many. I love working with new drivers because they're just sponges. You know, they absorb everything and they want to learn and they're eager. And I like working with guys that have a ton of experience as well. And the reason why, and even as a driver coach, when I'm on track, and there's a lot of times, you know, at the track in Utah, us instructors are out goofing around in a car. And we'll be in the car with each other, and, you know, as driver coaches and race car drivers, we already think we know it all. That's just a fact. Okay, every race car driver thinks they know it all. But when you get in with somebody else, you start noticing things like, wow, he does it a little bit different than I do, and he gets through there, I think it feels to be a little bit quicker, which just really tells you you can learn from anybody. So I always kind of refer it back to, you know, like an NBA player. Those guys don't need a coach to teach them how to play basketball. They need a coach to refine the things that they see from the outside that they might not see as a player themselves.
Yep.
It's a lot like proofreading your own material before you submit it. You're still going to miss the mistakes because you're the one that wrote it.
And you know what, and you're reading it like it's supposed to be read. You don't miss
you're reading it how you wrote it, but you're reading it from your memory, not from what's on paper. So as a driver that has a lot of skill, there's still stuff to be gained by having somebody on the outside look and watch and at least bounce ideas off and to get them thinking a little bit different than what they are now.
Yeah,
it's like I never thought about that. Well, let me try it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Might work and it might not, but it gets people thinking outside the box. So it doesn't matter what skill. I mean, IndyCar drivers, Formula One drivers, those guys have coaches, and us down here look at them and go, they're good. Why do they need a driver coach? Everybody can benefit from having a driver coach and having them look from a different perspective other than from the eyes that are within the helmet. So,
man, that's very, very profound. Seriously, that is cool. Because that's what I just said is a person. You know, not that he really needs it, but you know what? A film in a way is sort of like a driving coach, right? I mean, if you can open your eyes enough to you know, I mean, in basketball we did all the time. I had a point guard that could not get it across half court. She was struggling. You know, it's because you always pick the ball up 2 dribbles after you. You know, I do not. You know, it's like, so we filmed it.
Right.
And when she saw that, it was like, oh my goodness, I do it every time. It's like, yeah, and it drives us crazy.
Right.
So I mean, the same goes for you. I mean, I'm sure you probably, you know, pick up little innuendos there that they're doing whatever, and you're gonna say, you know, man, I notice you do this all the time. I do. I don't really. Yeah, you do. So I mean, that would be that's super cool. So,
there's a lot of things like that. You know, video, the data aspect of things. I've worked with drivers that you know, it's a fast sweeping left hand, and they go, I'm going through there flat out. I'm fast as I can go. And then the engineer comes over and taps you on the shoulder and says, yeah, he's not. He's breathing it. You know, he's only like, he dropped probably 78% or whatever. Hey, data don't lie. So us drivers, we can make all excuses we want, but data doesn't lie. So yeah, it's just always good to have a different perspective on things, you know?
Yeah. Well, my last thing for you is, you know, the Speedway guys. We were talking the other night, and you said, wow, I'm just amazed at these guys are using it to measure cylinder head temp or whatever, water temp, whatever it is, but that's it, or lap times. They're not really using it for anything, you know, of any significance.
Yeah, it was a little interesting to me, you know, because again, the road racing background in me, we use data for all kinds of stuff, and you know, I'll be honest, everybody, I'm new to going in circles. I'm new to the dirt, but it's a steering wheel and 4 wheels and an engine. It doesn't matter. A lot of the principles still apply. It doesn't matter. And I've had the pleasure of working with Kyle Keenan this winter down there. And I said, let's throw some stuff on the cart, and because I've never done anything like this, let me start extracting some information to see what I do or don't know. And there's a ton I don't know, but let's start gathering it so that we have some history to start looking back at progression or digression, and try to get some consistency to see. And it's been really cool to do that. And so that was one of the things I noticed, that everybody has these $300, $400, $500, $600 microns, and they're using it for RPM and lap time. And there's a heck of a lot less expensive devices on the market, if that's all you need. But with that, there's a ton more they could be at least gathering and storing for future use. And I just, on that note, Terry, I just was on the phone with AIM, doing some other stuff this afternoon, and the Micron 5 has really cool, as most people know that have a Micron 5, they've already set it up, and there's an oval and a road racing mode. And AIM is coming out with some new stuff. It'll be a firmware update that's strictly designed for oval. And that's all they would tell me. And I said, perfect, because if anybody asks me a question, I don't want to say I don't know and have to lie to them. So I don't know any more about it, other than there's got a lot of really cool stuff coming up that's going to be specific for oval type racing, and I'm excited to see it. I'm really excited, and I'm hoping to pick some people that I can work with and really expose how much information can be gathered, and how it's going to make them better and faster as a driver, because that's what we're out there for.
Right.
We want to be better and faster. We want to win, man. We're racers. So I'm excited about that.
Wow. So your website is product41.com, and then you said you have one on the driver coaching side that they can go to?
Yeah, it's my first initial last name, R. Swyers, SWYERS.com.
Okay.
That site's probably lacking a little attention over the last 6 months since the Product 41 launched, but there's enough information there that people kind of see a little bit about my background and some of my accomplishments in motorsports and the things I've driven, things that I've done, and yeah, they can go there and visit it and send me a message and tell me that the site's terrible, it needs work, or you misspelled a word over here, or pick it apart. It's all good.
Right on, man.
I like it.
Well, that's cool stuff, Ronnie Swyers. And I wanna say thanks for being on the show. Thanks for taking the time. I'm looking forward to working with you a ton, and we'll do this again.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody else that's listening too. I've got to meet some really fantastic people down there. Again, this is all new to me, and what a great group of people I've met over the last 2 or 3 months down there in Salem. It's been absolutely fantastic. And you too, Terry. You're awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. Well, Ronnie, thanks, man, and we'll be in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Take care. We'll chat soon.
Okay, bud. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, everybody. Ronnie Swyers, pretty profound guy, I would say, right? I mean,
definitely.
And I put on there tonight that the question was, are tires really what's beating you? And I was talking to Ronnie the other night about some of this, how tires are everything with the dope and all this stuff, but it made me think, it's is it really the tires, or could the guys' setup actually be better than the other guys? We're assuming that it's the dope, but is it? I don't know. It's kind of made me think, I don't know. You're nodding like you kind of get what I'm saying.
Oh, I definitely do. There's at least 3, maybe 4 people that I can point to that do use dope, but I don't believe that's what makes them fast. And this was their first year that we seen them in karting, in the dirt, and they were fast. They were hella fast, but it wasn't the dope. It was the setup.
Right. And you know, they told me back east, well, you know, your setup could be close, you know, but if you miss it, well, look, okay, for example, let's take Diotti in the BK. Nobody thought he was going to be where he was. I don't think, if they were honest, but he was. But why is that? Is it tires? They'll say, I missed it. We missed it on tires. We made the wrong, you know, but did they? Was it all that? I don't know. That was just something that just kind of I was thinking about when I was talking to Ronnie. You know, I was kind of like, wow. I mean,
yeah. Hey,
you know, we take credit on that when it's tires, and we also put the blame there on that on tires. And very rarely do you hear anybody say, "Yeah, I missed the setup." It's all so basically. That sounds to me like if I show up with a go-kart, my tires are right. I should be right there.
You should be.
I mean, if I'm any kind of a wheel,
setup helps.
It does, or maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. The clone guy asked back there, Mike Dickerson. He said, I said, so if I'm decent, or I'm really good on setup, I mean really good, and I miss it a little bit on tires, but you're not as good on setup as me, but you hit it on tires, you'll beat me. And he says, every time. I don't know. Kind of a.
We are becoming there out here, but right now I think setup is king out here.
And I hope that's the way it stays. I mean, really. I mean, I think it's important. Setup is very important.
Well, but I guess my question is this tire dope, I see skull and crossbones on the side of the can. Is this good for anybody?
No. You better be wearing gloves, because I know of
it ain't even that.
4 or 5 people that ended up in the hospital because of that.
You go out on the track, so you go out there and you run your car on the track. Is this stuff in the air? Where's it go in the dirt? What's going on? I mean, it's just something I wonder.
I don't, it's like anything else. I unless a pandemic hits, it's something that is just going to get pushed to the back, and it's going to take something blowing up, or a tire roller, catching on fire and burning down a shop or something before anybody really says, "Wow, I wonder," But and I'm not trying to dog it. It's here to stay.
Yes,
I mean, you're not gonna rule it out now, unless you're gonna just want to kill everything. But it's just part of the game, and it's another science you got to learn. And it's unfortunate. But Chris C said it best. He says back there, most of those guys have their chassis figured out. They know where they need to be. There's not even really all these adjustments that we get out here. He said most of the time, all those adjustments are selling points because people think they need them.
Yeah.
So, those guys are pretty well dialed in. So he says, what's left? I mean, there is nothing left but tires, right? I mean, you got a good, strong motor. And so, I mean, but still, I think setup gets swept under the rug, and I don't know that it should. I mean, I think a guy needs to still be
and that's
eager to learn on that stuff.
And that's one of the things that I like with the dirt modified. Everything, that whole deal's set up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you miss it.
Oh, yeah.
You are out to lunch.
Well, and that's the problem again, too, is what I say is, you're running UAS, you want to move up the ladder and maybe do something. They're not going to allow that doping once you leave karting.
Yeah.
They're not going to allow it. So hopefully you've paid attention to what you're trying to learn setup wise and data wise and all that stuff. But don't you think that data stuff's I mean, I think it's going to be the next wave, especially in the speedway stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure.
And so there's talk about putting together a class for that. And actually, Ronnie was just wondering, and I'm going to put it out there to you guys, if there was a class, say for $20 or $25, I guess we've got one of the gurus that lives out here in Yelm that's an AIM guru. But if it was $20 or $25 for the class, how many people would show up and want to learn more about the Micron 5 or what you can do with yours? I think you'd probably need to bring a laptop or something if you've got any data down there. Otherwise, you can just come and listen in and find out. But let me know. Chime in. I don't know. $25 seems pretty reasonable to me. Be 9 to 4 is the class. It'd be an all-day thing, and you'd learn, a ton of stuff about how your Micron works. I think it's smart money because that's where it's going to be heading, I think. Now that tires are becoming, most of the guys got a pretty solid tire program. The next thing is they're going to want to see, okay, getting it around the racetrack. And this data is going to give them a lot more info on, Chris C said, that's one of the things I noticed. The biggest thing around, they're super fast on the straightaway, but they have no corner speed.
Yep.
So there you have it. What's going to give you that? It's going to be that data.
Nope.
There's just no two ways about it.
What do you change and where do you change?
Right. Exactly.
Well, it's just like he said, when I was listening to that and he was talking about one of the cars out there and the guy was, I'm flat out through the corner. Well, no, actually data shows you are only 78% at the apex. That's big because it's you think you're there, you think your foot's down, but it's compensating and it's not. And like he said, data doesn't lie. No, actually you're not. You're about 78% at the apex. So if you can figure out how to hold that down just a little bit more.
And that's what I was just going to say. In the sprint stuff, it's like that. You need to hold it 10 feet longer here, 5 feet longer there. It's big. It's going to be huge.
It's a problem for me. I can tell you that right now.
Well, yeah, it's a problem for anybody. What did Diotti say? He said, "Yeah, I thought I was fast till Yao went by me, and I realized, geez, he's driving that thing in a country mile." And he says, "And I thought I was going in deep."
Exactly.
So,
yeah,
that it's coming, guys. So if you're interested in that, I think Ronnie's going to put it together. What a whale of a teacher he would be, along with that. But I just think it would be, if nothing else, it's putting your mindset into racing, and I think you can't go wrong whenever you do that.
Yeah.
So
always learning.
That's it.
Hey, I got a fact.
Oh yeah, we got a quick track fact here before we let you guys go. Okay, and that is
there's a sign in Boone, Iowa. It says, "Caution: exposure to Boone Speedway may cause sudden burst of joy, happiness, energy, and even spontaneous healing. Note: in some cases, it's been known to cause excessive drinking and cursing. Enter at your own risk."
Nice.
That's awesome. And we're going to leave you with that one. Don't forget this weekend, or not this weekend, the 11th and 12th. Make your plans on your calendar. It's the final cage kart event of 2016 and 17. And 2-day show. Bring your good attitude. You got anything, Lip?
Look for the seal coat car. It'll be down there for that one.
Right on.
Whenever somebody's in your way, go where they're not.
On the high side.
That's it, usually, because they're on the bottom. Don't be a bottom dweller. Hey, we love you. Brian Bowman, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Hope you tune in consistently. We appreciate it very much. Everybody else, Sean Carr, Scott Warning, Renee Angel, Danny Kravitz.
The Chases.
The Chases, Rusty King. We appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for all the support. Tim Chase, we will be in touch for sure, man. Keep tuning in. Brian Williamson, Wayne Thompson, Daryl Kelso, my man.
Kevin Bridges.
I like what Kevin had to say. You can take the karting out of somebody, but you can't. Where did that go?
You can lead the karter to the track, but you can't make them drive. I don't know.
He was talking about the Chases, and he says you can take the karting out, but you won't be able to get away from it or something like that.
That's cool. Hey, and Kevin Bridges did say, can you put your whole clutch in? How about just putting the whole thing in the dishwasher? Do that at your own risk.
Yeah, especially at my house.
Do that at your own risk. We love you. We'll see you next week, everybody.
In time, the chases will be back. You can take the man out of karting, but you can't take the karting out of man. Quote by KB.